Welcome to Canada's podcast. So, Ron, welcome to Canada's podcast. And I should say to people that we have met in the past, so there may be some familiarity that isn't always the case on these things. But as I say to everybody that comes on, the first thing is, people probably don't know who Ron Thomson is, okay? And so tell us a little bit about yourself, your entrepreneurial journey. You don't fill the 25 minutes that we're going, why you started it and where it is today, and in your industry, which is really the media side of things, what you see the future of that might be, basically.
Certainly. Well, thanks, Phil. Nice to see you again. It's been a while, and what a pleasure to be on your show. I am an entrepreneur in the media and entertainment industry, also heavily covering the tech side of the business. I've been involved in the industry for my entire career. I come from the television industry and the global industry, which is where I started my career path 35 years or so ago. It's got to be almost 35 years. So yeah, I'm an entrepreneur. I've actually had, after I graduated from University of Edinburgh in Scotland with a graduate degree in English and communications, I worked for Mediaset in Italy, which was an interesting challenge, and learned the television industry. I went from there in the middle of a recession in the early 90s back to Canada to my family, and picked up through my father, a relationship that led to me founding a company called Cyphertech Systems, Inc. that was a technology company for providing anti-piracy technology to the media, music industry, and the film and television business. It was a great learning experience. We raised tens of millions of dollars and created some wonderful technology. It commercially was not as successful as one would have liked, and that led to its being wound up, and my founding another company called AudioTrack Watermark Solutions in 1995, and that was much more successful, actually, and we raised an enormous amount of capital and deployed it, and I think I left the business when we were over 400 people in the company. And that really was a great success story, and that went off to do other things. I ultimately decided to move on and take what had been a serial entrepreneurial kind of background and become an entrepreneur, a parallel entrepreneur for other people, and essentially do what I do, as a sort of a business, to sort of productize the idea of helping people grow and finance and succeed with their businesses, always in film and television, media, advertising, publishing, and the music industry. Mm-hmm. And that's that TMT, which is really technology, media, and telecoms, has become my mainstay all these years. Mm-hmm. And in 2000, I founded Cameron Thomson Group, which is my own company. I think the first office we had was in Milan, Italy, where I started the business, and helped then one of the leading family conglomerates, the Benedetti family, grow their company. It was quite exciting and fast-paced, and that led to other clients in the Italian market, and then being brought into the UK market to help people at Kirsch Group and a business that they started in the UK that was quite exciting. And I got involved in that business that owned Formula One racing and World Cup soccer, and helped them essentially create a digital business with their various rights that they owned. And so I went off and creating all kinds of companies and financing those for them. And then I was a newlywed, so I had to come back to Canada to see my wife and start a family. And so we started the office in Toronto here. And we had this sort of triangle of Toronto, Milan, London. That was our business. And that went on for years and years. And actually, it still exists today. And so my business is now 23 years old. And I have been involved in over 110 client mandates where I've been involved in been engaged to help companies finance themselves, help them package what they have, help them address expansion opportunities. And that's always done with a team that's led by me and others in my team. And we have these sort of mini kind of groups that we create a sustainable business model. And then we basically spearhead whatever is required, whether that's sales and marketing, whether it's finance, whether it's corporate development, whether it's technology development. But it is always acting as an entrepreneur. I don't want to say for hire, but I think regularly my company has been referred to as Black Ops game changers. And the concept is that we get sort of parachuted in to fix or to create a sort of a roadmap or to basically execute. And so I've been interim everything, CEO and head of corp dev and director and executive chairman, and whether it's in the film studios industry, which I've been involved in formulating and building several major studio complexes around the world, whether that's in Italy, in the UK, here in Toronto, in the States, in Taiwan, in mainland China. I've been involved heavily in the film studio industry.
So Ron, just I'm listening to you about all these relationships. You are an entrepreneur, and you've also been in the position. You're an entrepreneur, and as I said earlier to ourselves, you're coming into that awesomepreneur thing. So you've been at it for 23 years. You've really built yourself a global operation fundamentally, and you've met some, fairly significant entrepreneurs. Yes, but a lot of them in the media business, but that's fine. Do you think entrepreneurs are kind of wired differently? Are they unique compared to others? I'm curious because you had that you across the continents you've had that opportunity to meet people that have created things and often brought you in as a guide on them as well.
I think that we are wired a bit differently than many people out there, and I also think, and it's not just simply a matter of there are sort of hunters and there are farmers, where there are people who go off and sort of, generate and sort of go on the front lines and close business, as opposed to those who basically mind and build and support. I think this is something different. I think entrepreneurship is one where it's a lot of thinking laterally. It's a lot of survival and innovating, adapting constantly, whiteboarding and re-whiteboarding, looking over your shoulder, optionality. It's constantly having to find a way to differentiate so that you're always relevant and you're always on the cutting edge. That's a concept in entrepreneurship, and doing everything that it takes to get there and to be successful and to move the needle. Mm-hmm. And so that is, I think, if there's anything that I and my company, but that I represent to customers or clients or companies in our industry, is that I will do what is required to cause them to be successful. Obviously, always respecting ethical standards and compliance and scruples and everything else. And doing, the fact is, our industry is very small, and it's you always do the right thing. And so ethics is such an important part of it. And it's for people. And so motivating people is because by yourself, you can't do all that much without being able to leverage, skill sets, and whether there's financial skill sets or marketing or legal or operational or technology, whatever. So, I think you do, being an entrepreneur, I think courage is a significant attribute. It's easy to say, it's hard to do. It's terrifying. I think regularly I'm a person who's motivated through fear of failing, fear of not living up to your potential, fear of being, mundane and not accomplishing things. So, I am a driven person. I don't know how that happened, but I have been pretty much my whole life. So I'm very, very driven, and it's a disease, I think, that entrepreneurs suffer from. And it's so, on the one hand, it's all very wonderful. On the other hand, it is absolutely, it's a something that needs a remedy, and the remedy is the expression of how you get from A to B with an idea, with a company, with a concept, whatever.
So, I mean, we have a lot of entrepreneurs emerging owners of emerging companies, be it media or technology, all kinds of sectors. And, as they're being successful, inevitably they come to that financing, side of things, which you've been into. Can you give us a kind of, guide on, what are the key elements that you think are needed to attract and win the confidence of investors? Because, I mean, let's not talk about money. Unless you've got confidence, you don't got money, kind of thing.
I think investors, there's the interest. It's different between investors versus lenders, and sometimes they're one and the same. But I think they share that common, not just interest, but requirement that they can not just get a return on their investment and get their principal back, but also that it will be a healthy return, and whatever they're getting involved in has some scalability, so they can create a very positive ROI. And I think that is something that investors seek. All of the companies that we look at are at various stages of sort of financial independence, and having either demonstrated that they have the ability to be cash flow break even and profitable or not. And so I think if you are an investor, you will tend to look at a business both in terms of how successful could this be? What are we talking about here? Is this going to be as they say in the industry, is this going to be an 8-bagger or a 10-bagger? How scalable is this idea? Is this business? Is this an opportunity? How much? And then you say, if you intuitively look at the company, and the company's in the, I don't know, it's a blockchain company, or it's a filament business, or it's a whatever the business, doesn't really matter. Can it get there? Do you instinctively feel that this is something that's going to make it, that's going to have this kind of ability to be super profitable? So that, first of all, kind of gets you in the tent and gets you looking at it. And then, my job is always to say, okay, well, how is that possible? So it's really the engineering of, where are you today? How do you get to where you need to be to show that kind of scalability? And almost engineering backward to where you are today in terms of how do you get to cash flow break even and beyond. And so I think I tend to look at businesses almost like a senior lender, in the sense that we're very conservative in terms of cash flows, and in terms of understanding, every deal that we look at, we kind of treat as though it's, you're looking for a car loan. So the idea is, it's all very routine stuff. What kind of collateral have you got? How's the business scaling? What's your uptake rate? What are your assumptions on pricing and on uptake? And so essentially, it's always about trying to finance the deficit, if you like, the delta between, what's happening with your cost side and where your revenues are, and until you get to a point where your cash flow break even and beyond. And that's, that is ideally for the companies that we get behind. That's the challenge. After that, once they're cash flow break even, it becomes it is a different kind of a structuring of the offering. But I tend to find that we really focus on putting these steps in place to cause these companies to reflect their financials in a way that we can show and de-risk getting to cash flow break even and beyond.
What's like the best piece of advice you've ever received? You know, the one you carry around in your back pocket that you keep going back to, kind of thing.
I've had many. I think one of the ones is that you have to have faith, and you have to believe in yourself, and you know it's important for you to maintain that leadership and faith, you know, irrespective of what kind of obstacles you encounter along the way, because those are the people that tend to be the ones who are that very few that are very successful. I had a guy the other day, I talked to him on the phone, an Italian guy actually, and I'm not going to finance his company because he has a different view on things. But I knew he was a superb entrepreneur and that he will make it. Just by the way, the kind of fearlessness, the kind of not self-confidence, just the kind of focus and the ability to kind of believe in himself, because everybody around him essentially will say no and will say, you know, here are all the reasons why this is not going to succeed. But I could tell he was that guy. And I love when I see guys like that, because that's the way I am, right? So you tend to have a lot of empathy for people who are like you in that way. For a bunch of other reasons, I won't be involved with him in the short term, but he's exactly the kind of guy. When I saw it, I was like, that was me 20 years ago. And I just love his kind of, he's fearless and he's focused, and everybody's trying to throw, you know, little obstacles in his way. And I know he's going to go over them. I know he's just going to stay focused and get them.
You've got a couple of new things going on. I mean, what are you most excited about in your business these days?
Well, I'll tell you, I've obviously, in the Cameron Thomson business goes on, and I've got a lot of help these days because I need it. And we've got lots of cool stuff going on as always. So many different parts of the film and television and media industry. So we've got a bunch of active things that are happening. But I think probably the most exciting thing at the moment is Liquid Media Group, which I got asked to join just over a year ago as CEO, and have been involved in taking this public company that trades on NASDAQ, and its symbol's YVR, and has been around for a little while, and helping, if you like, recalibrate the business into something which is very exciting and has a massive value proposition for the independent production industry for film and television, which is being underserved right now. It's just, there's a massive demand for, if you like, a competent business solution or partner to help support independent content creators, be it for film or television. And it's something that I saw at Cameron Thomson for the last 10 years or 12 years. And I've constantly been involved in helping on a kind of an ad hoc or a project by project basis, whether it's financing a TV series or financing films. I've done so many, some quite big films, some quite successful films actually, where thank goodness we were integral to getting them done. And, but you know, what was broken is there's a lot broken. And what I saw was an opportunity to fix it with a scalable solution that is structured where we could utilize this public company as a perfect vehicle to service this need, to finance that if you like that equation, and provide an elegant solution which is scalable internationally. And we're in the process of doing it now. We've announced 4 acquisitions, 3 of which we've closed. And so now we're a real business. We've got, you know, revenues, and we've got people and technology, and we have an entire solution, which now is becoming a real something. And, you know, it takes some convincing people around the table. It takes demonstrating that actually your big idea is sensible. And it's a bit confusing at the beginning because it's not one size fits all, and it's not just one thing that we're doing. We're doing something which is quite sophisticated and needed, and we're doing it in a way which I think we can build an enormous business. So I'm very, very excited about that. I'm spending all my time on it, or ostensibly all my time on it. As I said, thank God I've got some good help with Cameron Thomson because I need it now.
Okay. You know, if you had to pick one word to describe yourself, what would it be and why? You use the word driven, but I think a little deeper than that, maybe, you know.
I'm a catalyst, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I get stuff done.
Yeah,
you know, I think I've heard myself described as a, you know, as a hunter, as a person who goes off and accomplishes stuff. I've never really referred to as a quote unquote manager, although it is one of the things that I have also been told that I'm pretty good at. So because I have had to manage, I do manage a lot of people. I have my own particular style to it, which I found has been incredibly effective.
Mm-hmm.
But manager would not be one of those things, although a lot of people say that about me, that I'm a pretty good manager. I don't think so. I think I'm effective. Maybe it's that I'm so busy building, but I am a builder. I build stuff. That's what I do.
Yeah. Let's get on to some less serious questions. What books are you? Actually, they're pretty serious for me, as anyway. What books are you reading now, or listening to, whichever? And what would you recommend someone pick up, read, and you know?
The autobiography of Mel Brooks. It is absolutely.
I'm going to read that. I'm going to get it this weekend.
I cannot say enough good things about it. The guy is just. I mean, look, I work pretty hard. I work all the time, so I don't have an enormous amount of time to read these days. But when I do, that's what I'm reading at the moment. I read the Elon Musk autobiography. That was interesting. It was a little hard going, frankly, but there's a guy who's tormented. He's tormented. That's the word I think I was looking for.
I think that's a good word. I never thought about calling him that. He's been called worse than that. But
yeah, I'm tormented in a good way. In a good way. I love building stuff and doing stuff and you know, moving the needle and causing people to be successful. That's definitely what I love to do. But definitely tormented.
Another fun thing, are you a morning or a night person?
You know, I used to be a night person, and now I'm a morning person. And because I have kids in their teens, and someone's got to get up early and get their asses out of bed and everything. So I've become a morning person. I really like it now. I didn't used to, but at night I'm not. I used to be a night owl. I stay up to 2-3 in the morning every night. Now there's no way. I got too much to do during the day, so I can't do it anymore.
And this is a tough one with no prep, but you've got years of prep. Okay. You know, I have 4 steps to reach it, going on a project: start, think, focus, execute. Okay. I'm going to give you 3 steps. If there are 3 steps that you take, when you're building, there are more than 3. But what would be the key steps, the 3 steps that you think?
It goes 2 different ways. One is, with everything, you kind of have to set your expectations first. And so for me, that's always, I say a thing that everyone knows I say all the time, and it's crawl, walk, run.
Mm-hmm.
So first of all is the approach. Let's set the kind of expected course here. Crawl, walk, run. We're going to go slow. We're going to walk, and then we're going to do something. And I think for me, that 50,000 foot view of whatever I do, getting the big picture of wherever I'm going into situational analysis is critical. It takes a beat or 2 to get there, to understand what are all the variables that you have there, what are the building blocks, what are the pieces, what's missing. And then it's looking at it sideways and saying, first of all, what is the addressable opportunity here? And, how could I change things around to really be a powerful thing? And so then it becomes roadmap in a sensible way, crawl, walk, run again.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's building out an execution, and it's step by step. And all along the way, you've, on the one hand, you have operational, on the other hand, you have constant, I don't want to say sales, but it's persuasion, it's education, it's evangelism, it's marketing, and it's everything else. And one supports the other. And so that is definitely the way that if I was to put into 3 phases on the kind of execution phase, that would be definitely formulate the big idea, create a roadmap, execute, and always do it in a sensible fashion, which is crawl, walk, run. You're never going to be able to hit the ground running out of the gates unless you've done your homework, unless you've put a plan in place, until you've built an infrastructure, or at least you start building an infrastructure to execute, and then you stay on top of it and you follow it through, and you methodically step by step, you chaperone that process through to completion. And completion can take years. I mean, some of these companies I'm involved in, I think about De Agostini in Italy. We was a 5 or 6 year execution. Telenor was an 8-year contract, revolving contracts.
Mm-hmm.
ITV in England. I mean, my God, for years we worked for those guys.
Mm-hmm.
So many clients, so many incredibly interesting people. But they tend to look to me to have a very structured approach. Not out of the gates, but once I've done I figured out kind of what's the big picture, then I'm able to structure something where at least I now understand what we've got to work with and to create some directions, and always some flexibility, so that you have to change course or you have to abandon something and move into another direction. You've got that plan B, in your hip pocket.
So in business, this is a business one, what's your favorite word and what's your least favorite word? Why?
Can is my favorite word. Can do.
Yeah. What's your least favorite word? I guess can would be the least one, not. It's pretty obvious.
It's there's no other word. Those are the words.
That's really good. We could talk all day, but unfortunately, we're reaching that time that I said we would, and it's just flown by. Someone listening to this, how do they get a hold of you, Ron? Without being intrusive, but how can they get to you?
Probably the best place at the moment is through Liquid Media, where I sit every day, all day long, and I'm spending an enormous amount of time through either R. Thomson at liquidmediagroup.co, or just ring me up on the phone, but I'm on the website. Go to liquidmediagroup.co. Is all my details are there. I'm easily contactable, and I tend to get back to people pretty quickly.
Ron, thanks so much. It was really great seeing you again, and great having you on the show, and some good words in there.
Thank you, Phil. Listen, I really appreciate you having me on, and great to see you again. And any questions that you have, or any of your listeners and audience, I'd be happy to talk.
Thank you. See you soon.
See you soon. Thank you. Cheers.